Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to go through my personal favorite WWE WrestleMania matches. Now, these are not necessarily the best, these are just my favorites. Now, some of them might be considered the best, but this is just a list of my personal top 10. So get ready, straight, let's get into it. Number 10 is Daniel Bryan versus Batista versus Randy Orton triple threat match at WrestleMania 30. This, of course, being the main event. Now, the opening match versus Triple H, Daniel Bryan versus Triple H, to qualify for this match is not on my list, yet it's a great match, but I have to pick the championship match, simply just because the story it tells. He's already heard from his opening match with Triple H, but the indie darling prevails against the two ruthless aggression behemoths. He basically beats 3/4 of Evolution in one night. He probably would have beaten Ric Flair as well, but Ric Flair was probably not fit to compete. And at the end, Daniel Bryan holding up both titles at the end of WrestleMania is just a perfect scene. Number 9 is Edge and Mick Foley's hardcore match or street fight match at WrestleMania 22. Now, these two are two of the greats when it comes to hardcore wrestling, or at least in WWE. Edge not so much in other promotions, but Mick Foley all around the world, one of the greats of hardcore wrestling. And there's a deep, dark corner in my heart that's got a very special place for hardcore wrestling. They threw out all the stops, whether it was barbed wire, whether it was thumbtacks, flaming table spot, Edge spearing Mick Foley through the flaming table with a little bit of Lita assist. This is one of my favorite matches of all time and one of my ultimate guilty pleasures. Number 8 is Chris Jericho versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 19. Now, these are two of the best workers to ever do it. Two of the smoothest wrestlers. Now, give them 22 minutes at WrestleMania and you're going to have an absolute banger. And this is the match where Chris Jericho still just proved he's the ultimate puppet master of the audience, the other wrestlers, and just one of the best wrestlers to reinvent himself constantly. Number 7 is Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 32. Now, WrestleMania 32 was groundbreaking for women's wrestling. These were 3 of the 4 horsewomen of NXT competing in an absolute banger of a match. Now, this match set the pace for what's to come in the future for women's wrestling, and let's be honest, WWE has one of the best female rosters currently in the business, and this match was filled with emotion and just 3 of the best workers in the female division to ever do this. Number 6, Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels ladder match at WrestleMania 10. This was the blueprint for what we would see ladder matches would become. So this wasn't the old school ladder matches, and this was also the introduction to the mainstream audience to ladder matches. There was spots from the ladder was used as a weapon. This was just the absolute blueprint for what we would see for Money in the Bank and TLC matches, all those kinds of matches. This was where it all started. I do believe that they were in a little bit of trouble backstage because their match went too long, but if you watch this match, it was absolutely worth it. Number 5, Owen Hart versus Bret Hart, opening match of WrestleMania 10. What more can we say? I kicked your leg from under your leg. Or what did he say? I kicked your leg from underneath your leg. This is sibling rivalry at its absolute best. Owen Hart being salty because his big brother got all the accolades. He's a 2-time Slammy Award winner though. And this is just one of the best matches ever. Obviously, these two, part of the Hart family, growing up in the Hart family, these two can put on a great wrestling match with a broom, let alone with another great wrestler. So this is just probably the best all-time opening match, but number 5 on my list. Number 4, Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13. The double turn. And also Ken Shamrock in those little shorts. Absolute class. So this match is the one that really, really got Stone Cold to skyrocket out of the atmosphere and just set off the Attitude Era, and for WWE to ultimately win the Monday Night Wars. So this match is soaked with drama. Stone Cold being too stubborn to tap out, the claret coming down his face in the sharpshooter, and he doesn't tap out. He passes out, but he doesn't tap out. That image is still used in so many wrestling documentaries. Number 3, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus The Rock, WrestleMania 17. This, for my wrestling fandom, was the absolute pinnacle of wrestling. WrestleMania 17 is the best pay-per-view that has ever happened. This is one of the best main events ever. Out of the trilogy, this is by far the best match, and whether you like the ending or whether you dislike the ending, that's kind of the end of the Attitude Era, or sort of the end of the Attitude Era. Whether you like it or dislike it, I personally don't like that Stone Cold turned heel. I think he did better work as a face, but the match itself was still brilliant. The storytelling throughout the match, and Stone Cold, he said he was very close to calling audible right at the end of the match and stunnering Vince McMahon. Where would his trajectory have gone? Where would the WWE have gone? I would have loved to see that. Number 2, Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. Now, obviously, the WrestleMania 26 match was brilliant as well, but I only have one of them on the list. So, what is my number 1 going to be? What more can we say about Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 25 that hasn't been said on a million lists already? Probably the consensus best WrestleMania match ever. Now, this is not the best matches, this is my personal favorite matches. Dave Meltzer absolutely loved this match, and he's one of the best wrestling journalists out there, if not the best. It was basically heaven versus hell, and it led to WrestleMania 26, not the main event, the Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker match, which was brilliant. So this led to that, and this match in itself is just absolute. 2 of the greats ever, with brilliant storytelling, brilliant match, brilliant spots. What more can you say? And then number 1 is Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, Dudley Boys, WrestleMania X7 or 17, whatever you want to call it. This is, in my opinion, the best WWE WrestleMania match. Why? Because I grew up absolutely loving Stone Cold, loving Jeff Hardy, loving Mick Foley. Now, as you can see, they all feature on this list quite heavily. Well, Jeff Hardy at least once, Mick Foley at least once, and Stone Cold a couple of times. So I grew up, those were my favorites. Then Randy Orton came along, he became my favorite. Now, WrestleMania X7 is my favorite pay-per-view of all time. The Stone Cold versus The Rock match had not the best ending. I would have preferred to see Stone Cold stay face for the rest of his career, but this match, the spear off the ladder, Edge spearing Jeff Hardy off the ladder, that bump he took, the whole match is just 10,000 chef's kisses. This is, in my opinion, the best WrestleMania match ever. I hope you guys enjoyed this list. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel. Until next time, peace.